Hey guys, so I'm back here today with my Robinson Armament M96, and I've had the opportunity to put a lot more rounds through it, so I've got north of 1,000 rounds and also take it to a 2-gun match, so this thing is ready for its full review. Now, if you're curious about the M96 and how it connects to the rifle it is an homage to, the Stoner Model 63 machine gun, rifle, carbine, ton of different configurations that can go into, then I already did that in my first looks video, so please check that out. Now today we're just going to be talking about how this rifle stacks up in 2026 as a collectible and as a rifle that you might want to rely on. Now, before we get too deep into it, I do want to give a big shout out to the Echo Valley Training Center in Cape on Hill, West Virginia, where I did the accuracy testing for this rifle, and a bunch of footage came from there. So if you're in the DC metro area, please check them out. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with accuracy, where the Robinson M96 is going to get a 4. At 100 yards using 55 grain M193 ammunition, I was able to get a 1.9 MOA group out of this rifle, which is absolutely fantastic for just standard ball ammunition. And some things I think contributed to that: one, it does have a very nice trigger, which we'll talk about later on. And then also the barrel is pretty much free floated because it is a quick detach barrel where it really just latches in at the rear and then kind of plugs into the gas system up front. So overall, this is a very accurate rifle. All right guys, so next up we have Aftermarket, and this is where things are going to drop off just a little bit for the M96 because I'm going to have to give it a 2. Now the M96 of course was never a particularly high production rifle. They didn't make all that many of them, and production ceased back in 2012. So this is a rifle that's also pretty out of date. So there aren't many companies making parts for this still. And right now there's actually only 2 companies. The bigger of the 2 is going to be Stormworks, which is very well known for making parts for some lesser known or discontinued products. They make 2 different types of stock adapters. The first one's going to be a standard buffer tube style AR-15 stock adapter, and then also an A-style attachment for a screw-in stock. So those are your 2 options there. Stormworks also makes one part which I actually do have for this rifle, a top Picatinny rail, so you can attach whatever optic you want to the rifle, and that just attaches to the eyelets that are part of the modular system for the original Stoner 63 and for the Robinson M96. And then they also add a screw-in Picatinny rail for the underneath of the handguard here, so if you want a vertical grip, that's how you can do it. AR-180 Parts is the other company that still makes parts for it, and they only make 2 different parts, and that's going to be a replacement handguard, so it basically just mimics the original handguard in case you lost or damaged yours. And then they also make a pistol grip that has checkering on it, which is a little bit closer to the original Stoner 63s. And as far as current production parts, that's really all there is out there. So you have 2 companies making a total of around 6 or 7 parts, so not a whole lot. If you go back over the years, there were a couple of other companies that were also making parts for these, particularly different styles of rails, to include one which includes a rear sight attached to it. But other than that, there really has never been that many different parts made for these. And there was a company back in the day that was talking about doing a belt-fed conversion kit for the M96, but I don't believe they ever got around to it. And then when Robinson Armament came back in around 2020 and said, hey, we're putting this back into production, we're going to make the belt-fed kit and the Bren kit for the top feed and all that fun stuff, they never did. So you are still very limited on parts, and at some point they did come out with different barrel lengths, but those are going to be nearly unobtainable as well, just because you don't see them that often, and not a ton of parts got made for these rifles. All right, now next up we have durability, where I'm going to give the M96 a 4, and there's a little asterisk there because the 4 applies to either later production rifles or one of the early ones like mine here, which had updates done to it, because when these first came out, they did have some durability issues, to include my rifle here, definitely showing a little bit of wear in one area, which is with the op rod or the long stroke piston system. It actually turns, rotates, and locks into the receiver on a roll pin, which was not the greatest design decision because that roll pin can bend and break over time. Mine is actually bending a little bit on my particular rifle, and I'm going to have to get that replaced at some point. But that is something that Robinson Armament did go ahead and fix when they got past those first generation rifles. They also had some issues with the earlier generations of rifles doubling up on shots with the trigger group, so that's something that they did want people to send their rifles in for. And then they also did a recall for the bolt carrier group design. But past that and some minor issues people have had with bolt lugs breaking, stuff like that, this is a very durable rifle because it is an almost all steel construction. This thing is a ton of beautiful stamped, bent, and welded steel. This is a very good looking rifle, and from my experience, it's been holding up extremely well. Mine does have all the updates except for that roll pin done to it, and it does seem like a very durable rifle. The finish they use on it seems to be holding up really well, and I am very impressed with how well made this rifle is. And next up we have Ergonomics, where I'm gonna give the Robinson M96 a 4. Right, now I know this rifle is kind of massive, so go ahead and bear with me here, but we'll go ahead and start from the front. And first thing, you can see this is a band arrow rifle, and the muzzle brake is actually integrated into the barrel itself, so it is not removable. There's no threads under here. There are people who have these cut and threaded so they can add a can to it. I'm not planning to do that to my particular rifle. But the first real control is you're gonna see our gas regulator here. So this is an FAL style of gas regulator, so as you spin the regulator, that extra release hole right there by the front sight is cut off a little bit, which increases the gas pressure in the system, and it speeds up the bolt velocity. So that's how you regulate the gas system. I just keep it in the full open position here. Now you can see we do have the front sight here, which is an AR-15 style. Coming back, just have our handguard. Now as far as controls go, your magazine release is just on the right side here, and it is AR-15 style. And it is pretty easy to get to, so I don't mind it that much. It does come back far enough for most people's fingers and their reach. Now if we go ahead and flip this over, you can see the charging handle here. So this is a non-reciprocating style of charging handle, which is just on the left side of the rifle, so this cannot be swapped over. However, it is non-reciprocating, so it is a nice charging handle. Now you can see there is no bolt catch or bolt release on this, so if you do want to go ahead and lock it open, you can either stick an empty mag in there and do it that way, or you can go ahead and very awkwardly hold the charging handle back. If you look in the mag well, you'll see where, if I can do this right, there's a little tab here, which is where the magazine follower presses up on, and then if you press up on that, and then you release the charging handle, it will go ahead and lock your bolt open. So if you need to do that, that's how you go ahead and lock your bolt open. And then to release a bolt, you just pull the charging handle back, release it. You don't have a bolt hold open or bolt release. Now for your safety selector, it is very nice. Just on the left side, it is very enlarged, so you can absolutely get a good grip on it. If you're a lefty, of course, no dice. It's not on the other side of the rifle, but it is 45 degrees with very good detents. Very happy with that. And then this one does have the rear sight, which I eventually found for it. And it is a nice rear sight with adjustment for your windage. And you have two different aperture ranges on here. And the stock, there's really not a whole lot. You can pop this pin out at the rear, and then it will allow you to take out your sling swivel, so you can change it to the other side if you would like to do that. But that is really all we have to go over for the ergonomics. Actually, one other thing I do want to hit on real quick is going to be the barrel release. So if you want to go ahead and remove the barrel, it's incredibly easy to do. So go ahead, lock your bolt open, and just be a little bit careful here. So actually I'm gonna leave the magazine in so the bolt can't go forward. And you'll see this button here at the bottom of the handguard. Go ahead and press up on that. Then you can go ahead and just pull. Sometimes it takes a little bit of convincing the barrel out of the rifle. So you can see here, and this is part of that original Stoner 63 style, because of course that was also a light machine gun. So they had the quick change barrel on. Next up, we have maintenance, where I'm gonna give the M96 a 2. Now, being a descendant, or at least an homage to the Stoner 63, it makes sense that this rifle is going to be a little bit complicated in the disassembly area, because maintenance on the original Stoner 63 was one of the biggest issues with it. And there are quite a few different steps to actually taking one of these apart. There are a ton of non-captive push pins all across the rifle, one in the stock, then you have two in the lower receiver here, and one in the handguard that you have to pull all those out, one in the magwell as well. and you can take all those off of the barrel receiver underneath, remove your barrel, remove your gas tube, remove your long stroke piston, and then the long stroke piston, you actually have to press in a button on the side of the bolt carrier to pull out the bolt carrier group to get to that piston, be able to pull that out the front. So there are quite a few different steps that are necessary to disassemble the Robinson M96. So it takes a couple of times before you feel very comfortable with it. And then sometimes not all the holes line up when you're trying to line up the front of the lower receiver here with the magwell with the upper receiver. So it can be a little bit of a pain, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. Now, where I'm really going to be taking off points for maintenance is the availability of replacement parts, because they are not available at all. If you break a bolt on this, if you break a firing pin, anything that you break besides your handguard, that's the one part that you can replace with a modern alternative, you're not going to be able to find a replacement part for it. These things are very rare on the market, and the parts to them are even rare. Like mine originally did not come with a rear iron sight, and it took me multiple months, probably around 6 or 7 months, to finally have one of these pop up on Gunbroker for sale, because they are also incredibly rare. So that is the biggest drawback of this rifle when it comes to maintenance. Next up, we have modularity, where I'm gonna give the M96 a 5, and this is one area I was pretty split on, because while I am gonna give it a 5, there aren't a lot of parts to be able to actually realize that 5. So you can swap out the stock on this. You could swap out the pistol grip with something else. You really only have the one other option from AR-180 parts. And then your handguard, again, you're very limited. Where the modularity really comes in, and why I gotta give it the full 5, is the original Stoner 63 was really the most modular rifle system ever invented. You could swap it from a belt feed to a top-fed Bren-style magazine feed to a bottom-style carbine or rifle, and all of that is using the same exact receiver, just with different barrels, different feed mechanisms, stuff like that. And while things like the belt feed was never fully realized on the M96, they did do the Bren top feed magazine kit, so you could flip the receiver upside down and have the magazine be on top if you really want to do that. Those kits are, again, going to be incredibly rare and expensive to find, but they did actually make those. And as a concept overall, this is an incredibly modular rifle. It's just with something this rare, it's not going to be fully realized. All right, and the next one we're coming up to is price, and this is gonna get a 1. There's no other way around it. Just looking at Gunbroker, the M96 typically goes for $3,000 or more. So this is an incredibly rare and expensive rifle. These are complete collector's pieces at this point. This is not something that most people are gonna go run and gun with, even though I did use this at a competition, but these are not cheap rifles at all. And next up, we have shooting characteristics, where this completely comes back, and I'm gonna give it a 5. Now, starting off with the trigger, this does use that proprietary trigger, but it is an incredibly nice trigger. Pull weight comes in at 4 pounds, 13 ounces, so not the lightest in the world, but it's actually in a pretty happy medium spot for me. It is crisp, it doesn't have a ton of movement to it, doesn't have a ton of over travel, so very easy to use. Now, when it comes to recoil impulse, first of all, this rifle is not lightweight. There is quite a bit of steel in it, so it does soak up a ton of recoil, and it is incredibly nice to shoot. And I will say, besides being band era where this muzzle brake is actually integrated into the barrel itself, it does a good job. It just has 3 ports on either side of the muzzle brake, but you can actually feel it working and pressing down your barrel after every shot. It makes this a very easy rifle to shoot quickly. Now, when it comes to suppressing the M96, I have not suppressed my particular rifle, because I didn't want to change around or have to modify the original barrel. I would have to get the barrel threaded, so I didn't really want to change a factory aspect of this rifle like that, not at this point, unless I can get a cheap additional barrel for it. But as far as suppressing it goes, it wouldn't be my first choice of rifle, just because the gas system is already reliable when it's completely open, releasing as much gas as possible. So if you go ahead and throw on a traditional can, it will absolutely be overgassed. Now, if you use something like a Huxworks or another low back pressure can, I could see this performing pretty well. When it comes to reliability, the M96 is going to get a full 5. I have not experienced a single issue with this rifle. It's been 100% reliable. The match I use it in, there were some conditions where weren't ideal. We did get a little bit of rain there, but this rifle kept on chugging. I never had an issue with it. No stoppages, no magazine issues, nothing like that. So I would actually feel pretty comfortable trusting my life to this rifle at this point. And the final category we have is weight, and this is where this rifle loses out again, coming in at a 2 because this weighs 8.8 pounds. So it's not the heaviest rifle in the world. There are some 9-pound plus 5.56 rifles out there, like the AR-7090, but this is absolutely not a lightweight rifle. There is quite a bit of steel, being a stamped steel and welded construction. It looks absolutely gorgeous, but with that, you're gonna get quite a bit of weight. And of course, the original Stoner 63 was also designed to be a machine gun, so they're gonna overbuild some components of it to be able to stand up to that level of use. All right, guys, so when we go ahead and add up all 10 categories, we come out with a 34 for the Robinson Armament M96, which is gonna throw it up into the A tier. Now, as far as the good goes, first of all, this rifle just looks fantastic. The durability, as long as you have one of the more updated versions, is fantastic. These things are very well built and manufactured. The welds all look great, so I don't see anything likely breaking on this. The ergonomics on this rifle are very good for something that's a little bit on the older side. And then conceptually, the modularity on this would be great if they actually made parts for it. And then the shooting characteristics on this rifle are absolutely fantastic. The trigger is very, very nice on it, and it has a very low, very comfortable recoil impulse, so you get very fast follow-up shots with it. Reliability is absolutely fantastic on this rifle. I have not had a single issue with it in probably around a little over 1,000 rounds at this point. And this rifle was also very accurate with just standard ball type ammunition. Now on the downsides, there are quite a few of them because this is a rifle which has been discontinued for over a decade and a half at this point. So first of all, the aftermarket on this does exist. However, it is incredibly small, so you're not going to be able to get a lot of parts. Maintenance on this is a little bit complicated. Your disassembly does take a little bit of experience and know-how to do. And then replacement parts for this rifle are basically impossible to get. So if you break something, you're basically going to have a rifle that doesn't work. These are also very expensive currently on the market since they didn't make a ton of them, and they're very much collector's items at this point. And then the weight on these is pretty heavy because this is a stamped steel rifle. Now, when it comes to the cool tier, I'm gonna have to throw this up into the S tier. Pretty much entirely because this is an homage to one of the coolest rifles, machine guns, carbines, whatever you want to call it, ever made, the Stoner 63. And I do think they did a really good job nailing the aesthetic of it. It looks right. I love the lightning holes in the receiver itself. You can pull out the barrel. It has that quick change mechanism to it. The stock is basically the same. This rifle did a really good job of actually modernizing it and bringing a Stoner 63 to the market with some more modern features to it. They changed the charging handle, make it a little easier to use, safety selector, stuff like that, so it's a bit more modern. Now, as far as movies go, I really haven't seen anyone use an M96, or really we're going to be talking about the Stoner 63 because no one's really using one of these in movies or video games. So movies, there really isn't a Stoner 63s. However, video games, there are quite a few that actually have them. So some of the earlier Metal Gear Solid games actually have a Stoner 63 in them. Then also Battlefield Bad Company 2 Vietnam also had a Stoner 63, which makes sense. It's a Vietnam era game. And probably its biggest appearance, and the one that always comes to my mind, is Call of Duty Black Ops. The Stoner 63 was one of the most popular rifles slash machine guns in that game. I think it was counted as a rifle, but it was absolutely fantastic there. And then it was also in Black Ops Cold War, so it has gotten around a little bit in the video game market. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for my review on the Robinson Armament M96. If you absolutely like this rifle, go ahead and hit the like button, please. This has been one of my favorite rifles to review, and running this in a match was actually really fantastic. So thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will see you in the next one.